Something sounds different.
Ah, see, technology. Hey, technology. When we go live, we always have issues. But, you know. Oh, awesome. Yep. Oh, she can hear. Okay, they can hear me. Nicole, can they hear Nicole as well?
People hear
Okay.
me?
But they can't hear Neil. Which is fine. We can just ignore you.
Oh, Neil!
Finally, we've got a silencer on Neil. It's fine. That's what they're saying in the chat. But you know, these things happen. Well, as long as they can hear us girls, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll just leave the boy to shut up, and me and Nicole will chat away.
Sounds like a plan.
So yeah, so with dog sports, quite often people have like the theory of like, I'm going to have an agility dog, and they get a dog purely for agility, and then they find out that the dog doesn't actually like agility. But some people then have the issue where they really want to do this thing and the dog doesn't, and you're like, well, do I continue on and make the dog do it, or do I switch to something else? And like with scent work and tracking and things, is that they're particularly tracking. It's not an easy thing to get into, and it's quite boring because you kind of like track some straight lines forever, which is really boring for the person. But for your dog,
yeah,
they do it naturally. They absolutely love it. The same with scent work. For those in the UK, check out Talking Dog Scent Work.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Helen Greenley, Morag Hayes, Pam McKinnon, and the rest of the gang.
Absolutely.
Because they are absolutely amazing, and the scent work is easy. It's fantastic. It stimulates your dogs. And when I was pregnant, particularly when I had my newborn, scent work saved my life. I had a newborn baby and 3 dogs. Not a lot of time. I was doing a master's degree at the same time as well, stupidly. And so but because I had a baby, I had like nappy boxes everywhere and like all sorts of like different things, because babies and baby stuff comes in boxes. There's just boxes everywhere, which I could then hide my catnip mouse in, and away they went. So like 15 minutes, 20 minutes of that a couple of times a day saved me from having to worry about walking them and stimulating them in other ways. So what kind of scent work stuff do you do with Cami?
Oh my gosh. So I mostly do scent work in the house. I'm running out of places to hide my scented items now. What I really like, and again, big up to the Talking Dog Scent Work group, because I'm a member of their club, they send monthly sort of challenges. So there's been challenges where over the winter there was one starting to hide scent work toys in piles of leaves that were damp. So seeing how the damp leaves affected the scent trail or the scent picture. There was one that Pam suggested actually at the WOOF conference, which was scenting, or not, it wasn't actually scenting up, I don't think, but an item on keys, so you can start to get your dogs to search for your keys. What else have I done? Oh, they had a really interesting one when the new £5 notes came out, because obviously they are a material that, obviously the old £5 notes, they get wet and really, whereas the new ones, because they're plastic, or I don't know what material they actually are. Is it plastic? I don't know.
It's something weird,
but yeah, obviously, you know, your dogs can pick those up as well, and they're not going to get completely ruined. So there were some really interesting exercises to do with that. So yeah, can do some really, really interesting things with scent work. But mostly just with her, I get her searching for toys. She's a big toy player, so that was the first thing for me to distinguish, was between searching for food or searching for toys. Because I started when she was so young, Cami wasn't a massive foodie at all when she was little. So toy play was a massive reinforcer for her. And all you have to do is just see her face when I pick out the box which has her scent work toys in it. She's just like, oh my God, I'm going to get to play with those toys. They're my favourite things, and they smell of catnip, and it's amazing. So yeah, that's what I focus on with her when I'm playing, when I'm doing scent work. And again, so if I've got, so when she was when she was in season and I couldn't take her out for walks. We did loads of scent work because that was just a really good exercise, mental stimulation as opposed to the physical stimulation. And that was really important for her, for any dog. So yeah, it's a great way to exercise them without having to necessarily go outdoors, although I do scent work outside as well.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of scent work recommendations for your clients? Because like yourself, you're a behaviorist as well. You're registered with ABTC and an APBC full member. Woohoo! And we see reactive dogs and things all the time. So is it something that you recommend to people that have reactive dogs? I know that I quite often will kind of get people doing some scent work either in the house so the dogs can avoid going outside and the stresses until they're ready for it, or they can go to a field and do some scent work and go home again. Do you kind of find that it helps to calm dogs down as well?
Massively. I mean, for me, it's just a really simple exercise, and I don't want to detract from what obviously the scent work guys teach in their workshops. Obviously, they go into a lot more detail, but just from a really simple point of view, I tend to sort of stick with the food side of things rather than going through the whole teaching them to scent for a search search catnip. But it's a really easy game that you can sort of show owners, and you can get them doing it quite quickly, and they can see results quite quickly because obviously dogs love to use their nose and most dogs love to search for food, so you can very quickly get some sort of result from it, and you can show them this really easy game that they can play. Oh, and by the way, you can use your dog's kibble if you want to, get them searching for that if you want to. That's a really good fun way to entertain them without having to use extra treats necessarily. So absolutely, I haven't met a dog yet that hasn't enjoyed playing some form of scent game.
I'm the same. It's one of those things where as humans, I think because our nose is rubbish compared to a dog's, we just don't understand the joy of it. All I can imagine is like if you're walking down the street and you smell like a really nice bakery. I love cake personally. Lush. So if I lush. I mean, to me, Lush is quite aversive for me because I don't like the smell. So if I smell a Lush shop, I avoid it completely. If I smell a bakery, I'll quite happily track my way to the shop. Neil, I know the people can't hear you, but feel free to pitch in and we can repeat what you say for the other people because I know you're really big on scent work as well.
I'm actually not big into scent work.
You do
yeah, like, okay, so I can train it. It's one of the items that I've done a lot. However, it wasn't one of those like fawning things that I love to just teach out and constantly. But I come from...
They can hear you, Neil. Woohoo!
Yay! Okay,
oh, he's not going to shut up now.
I come from like the old school scent detection tracking.
Okay.
So for me, it's more of that sport and then like professional activity than it is like the one that I just generally recommend for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, that's not to say when I do my tricks and stuff, I don't do shell game, I don't do things like that. That's not the case at all. I thoroughly enjoy shell game, a lot of different scent games, different things like that, but I use them specifically for that activity.
Okay. Because we love having kind of fun with it. And actually, in a few weeks, when I pin her down, Morag Hairs, who's one of the Talking Dog scent work trainers, is actually going to come on the live chat. And we're going to have a chat about scent work properly from what they do. But Morag also does deaf dogs, so we're going to have a deaf dog chat as well.
That'll be really
at some
fun.
point.
Talking deaf dog. I mean, not that they can really hear you, but...
Well, that's what I love about deaf dogs in particular, is that people always shout at their dogs. And I'm like, well, what if your dog's deaf?
Yeah.
How do they learn then? So that'll be a nice chat.
Isn't it great when you have a deaf dog in class, and it's so wonderful being able to show the owners how you can train a dog without having to say a single thing.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And everyone else in the class going,
it's
how does it go?
See, I just do that anyway.
Yeah.
Like, as a clicker trainer, I give them all duct tape and just tell them to shut the hell up. Because honestly, they need to take out that piece that they're so confident in. Everyone is so... They think that their dog is going to tell them things. But it's not going to vocalize that way. So we need to listen with our eyes. So Absolutely. if you wanted an ism, Nicole, there it is. I do. Listen with your eyes. Because that's what you need to do. If you're going to capture it and you're going to do it the right way, take the time not to talk and let them give you all the information you need.
Yeah. One thing I want to ask you about, Nicole, is something that I've never done with my dog that I'm really curious about. And I know that you had a little bit of an interest in. Do you still do the parkour with Cammy?
I do.
I am so excited about this because this just sounds amazing. Because I love watching like parkour guys anyway. And the idea of kind of, because I remember seeing like a YouTube video was, I think there's like a castle dog that's kind of doing like backflips off, probably, it does like backflips off trees, off his owner and stuff. And in winter, springtime, I'm getting a mini American Shepherd puppy. Oh no! And I really want to kind of do those kinds of activities with them, with him being more agile and lighter. So where do you do the parkour stuff? How do you do it? How did you find it? Tell me everything.
So funnily enough, it was that dog, which I assume is the one that you saw on YouTube, Tret. And I think he's, I don't know, he's a European country somewhere. And I saw these videos on YouTube, and this must have been about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And I just remember thinking, that's awesome. Like, I'd love to be able to do that. Not even really thinking about doing it with Cammy at all. But then one of the things I really, really, really am big on when it comes to training is doing things a bit homemade. Like, I'm not very good at, I don't have the time to go to training classes. Like, I'm running training classes myself all the time. So when I do training, it has to be when I'm out on my walks. I've got a small house. I don't really have a lot of space in my house to do training either. So, you know, training really is predominantly done on our walks. And the thing I love about parkour is the fact that I do it on my walks. And once you start looking into it, everything becomes an obstacle. Everything's a parkour obstacle. You start looking at your environment and going, oh, that'd be a really good thing to do a run across. Oh, that'd be a really good thing to do sort of a 2 paws up on. Oh, that'd be a really cool thing to duck under and teach her to duck under. And you can start to generalize all your commands all over the place, and it's brilliant. So I started, it was, funnily enough, another trainer who's local to me who had sort of mentioned it on Facebook and had said, oh, is anybody interested in just hanging out down the park and maybe having a go? So I was like, yeah, that sounds like something I want to do. So we went out with our dogs and we just started looking about. There are different levels. So we went to, now I'm going to forget the name of the association. I think it's the International Dog Parkour Association, but I have to double check that. Yeah, I'd have to check that. But you go on their website.
Yeah, so I'm just going to build on this.
Oh, yeah?
It's the same exact organization I was just about to mention.
Oh, okay.
And
so it truly
I
is
wouldn't be the treat fairy if I didn't. Yeah, no, it's one of the main things. I always say find the teachable moments.
Yep.
So if you aren't out on your walk and you're not going, ooh, that's a funny obstacle, or ooh, let's try to do something with that, you're not using that time effectively. Yeah. So you need to make sure that everything you see could be a potential cue, could be a potential anything. And I think that parkour is going to completely change dog agility and dog tricks that we know right now.
I think
it's going to completely change it.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I was going to say, I think the only caveat I would put on that is obviously the safety side of things. So obviously with agility, I don't do agility. I tried it with Cammy. I didn't get on with it. Cammy actually didn't really get on with it either, hence why I've not done any more with it really. But obviously there's certain pieces of equipment that you have to be careful with, and sort of with young dogs and not pushing them too far. And the same goes for parkour. I would suggest that obviously people would have to be careful with it. One thing I do really like about and again, I'm hoping this is the right name, the International Dog Parkour Association. If I've got it wrong, I do apologise, but they really advocate the use of harnesses. So same with the scent work when you get to the higher levels, where if they're jumping, not necessarily up, it's the jumping down and putting the pressure on their front legs. It's the same deal. It's using those harnesses to help them down, to take the pressure off their legs a little bit, just so that you're not putting too much pressure on those joints and things. So that's also sort of quite important as well, I think.
Yeah, it's extremely important that we talk about safety. You know, once you get into dog sports and some of these other activities, you have up, you have down, you have under, you have over, you have through. All of these different movements all are going to put stress and strain onto the animal.
Yeah. And
just like you go to the gym, you lift weights, you do your jazzercise, you do your yoga, whatever you're deciding to do.
Or you just sit on your sofa, but yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
It's like with all dog sports.
Guilty.
And like you see differences between some of the dog sports themselves. It's like people that do flyball get addicted and obsessed with it, but at the same time, flyball, the dogs get a lot of repetitive type injuries because they're doing the same thing over and over again. It's quite stressful on the joints. With agility, the dogs need warming up. They need to make sure that their muscles are in tone. And with agility in particular, because they want accuracy and speed, they need to make sure they train it really slowly so the dogs don't injure themselves. The best example I could think of at the minute, which most people have probably seen, is the Jack Russell at Crufts.
Yeah, it's
The
such a sweet video, but at the same time, you're sat there going...
I was watching that and thinking, okay, the dog's slightly overwhelmed, but kind of having a decent time. But like when he goes over the A-frame and you see the back legs come up, I'm like cringing because that is equipment that you just cannot let a dog run loose like that on it. It's too dangerous for them.
It's extremely too important to understand that everything needs to come in time.
Yeah.
You can't just automatically go out there and conquer the world.
Yeah.
Right? You should do it in a specific manner, in a controlled environment. You know, do it for the fun, but don't overdo it.
No, and make sure you don't strain them as well.
Stress them. Yeah. I mean, the one thing I always tell anybody that wants to get into sports is your dog only has so many jumps.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that they all count.
Yeah.
Right? Because it only takes one time for them to go over something too excited or a little lazy, a foot gets caught on a hula hoop or whatever the case may be, and you've now injured that dog forever.
Yeah.
You know, or they could just simply jump on your back and off your back. Nice little parkour trick. They come down wrong.
Yeah.
You have a problem.
Yeah.
So it's extremely important that your dismounts, your mounts, everything like that, do it with a harness. Help them the first couple of times just to make sure that they're doing it properly.
Yeah. And with Cami, when you first started, did you do any of the kind of 2-on, 2-off sort of thing and kind of teach her like the back end awareness exercises that people do in agility? Or do you just kind of dive straight in? Is there any kind of... Because for those that don't know, when you do agility, when you do it properly, there's foundation exercises. So the dogs can learn contact points, to have 2 paws on a contact, 2 paws off, and how to do the weaves. And it's all very gradulated, and they do it very slowly and very carefully to make the dogs more aware. So when they jump, they know how to land. Do you do that kind of stuff in the parkour?
So what's really interesting is I did some platform training with Cami.
Okay.
And
is that a Kay Lawrence thing?
Yeah, Kay Atwood, actually.
Kay Atwood.
So she's, I'm really lucky. She's literally just round the corner from me.
Oh,
so
awesome.
She's literally just down the road, which worked brilliantly for me. So I'm like everything she saw, any courses.
Yeah. I was dying to go to her platform thing. She came up north and I missed it. And I was like,
it's amazing. So Cami, I would describe as uncoordinated is probably a polite way of putting it. She is just completely and as most young dogs are, no back end awareness whatsoever. So so I did have to be careful. And obviously when we were doing the agility stuff, we always did stuff at a really low level, like the I don't know what the equipment's called, you'll have to bear with me because I've got no idea. Not the A-frame, what's the planky one?
The dog walk,
that's the one. As you can see, really not an agility trainer at all. But yeah, so we had that like right on the floor, and even then she was struggling to keep her back end on it.
Yeah.
So that's, again, like you say, having that awareness that the dog is not ready to move on to anything more than that, because if they can't keep their back end on something that's basically on the floor, they're definitely not going to be able to do it when it's
like 6 foot in the air.
Yeah, exactly. So I have had to be really careful with her. What really, really massively helped me with the back end awareness was platform training. Massively. a weekend of training, and she seems to just go, oh, I have a back end. Oh, okay. And I can move it independently of my front end. Oh, okay. That's really exciting. And I think that's a really important foundation skill for people to make sure they do. It
amazes me how many dogs just aren't aware that they've got back legs.
She had no idea.
It's like, well, they just follow over with my front legs. And you're like, no, you can move them on their own.
That is why I automatically put flat forms into all of my programs.
Yeah, they're so worth doing.
It's such a good way of training, and I don't think I would have appreciated quite how game-changing it was until I saw the difference it made in Cami. That really impressed me massively. So yeah, no, I would definitely say that if people are going to do stuff like that, yes, you're absolutely right. The foundation principles are absolutely so important, and I think there are a lot of people maybe out there who are going into doing stuff like this who aren't doing those foundation principles, and it's obviously potentially damaging to their dogs. So finding a good trainer who can show you how to teach those things. The other thing I was going to pick up on, Neil, actually, that you were sort of talking about earlier about safety as well, is thinking about getting people in to do massages as well for dogs.
Massage therapy, fitness training, because I ultimately think that is extremely important if you wanted to get into, some of the sports and some of the more intricate games that we see growing, like scent work and things like that. Ultimately, I mean, this could be important for scent work too. You don't know, they could find something while you're doing, because I'm not just thinking inside, I'm thinking we're out and about
everywhere.
There's car fines, there's all sorts of different things they could just jump over or walk on and walk off, or just tweak something just right. Safety first. Condition your dog. If you want to do some sort of a sport, make sure that they can walk for longer periods. Make sure that their cardio is up. Make sure that just their tendons are stretchy and everything is connected. Does that make sense without getting into the novelty of it all?
We'll get into that on another chat.
If we were doing a sport, it's all stuff that we would do naturally, right? Like you wouldn't go, I don't know, well, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't go for a run and not warm up first. And I also would cool down. And if I was having muscular problems, well, I do. I have muscular problems, and I will go and see a massage therapist just to keep on top of it, just to make sure it doesn't get to the point where it actually damages me to the point where I can't actually function.
Aquatherapy.
Sorry?
It's another fun one. Aquatherapy.
Oh, yeah.
Therapy.
That's another fun one.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if it tends to get used recreationally over here in the UK so much, does it?
It's more used for kind of building up muscles after injury and stuff,
rehab.
Isn't it? Rehab type stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone uses their dogs. I know some of the top agility competitors do kind of have regular massage sessions and stuff with their dogs to keep the muscles active, to keep them warmed up and ready. We do have a question. That's how long approximately does it take for a dog to be competent at landing, for example?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
Experience.
Based on experience?
Yeah, I mean, with the agility stuff that I've done and watched, is it all dogs can land because they're aware of how to do it. It's a natural behavior for them, but it's building up and teaching them how to do it properly, and that I think really comes with experience and depends on your breed. And the spatial awareness that dog has. I
would add that your follow through is everything.
Yeah,
you want to make sure that the dog's not coming off of something really abrupt. And you guys can't see my hands, but your viewers can. If it's something that's super abrupt because the dog is coming down and all of a sudden they stop there, oh my goodness. You know what I mean? I'm breaking things. And we don't we don't want to break things.
We don't want to break
anything. That's what
anything.
happens when we do things abrupt.
We have enough technical issues.
So your follow through is everything.
Yeah, because sometimes you see like when they're kind of do like really tight wing wraps, when they're jumping and they're twisting midair, and you've got to really build up a dog to be able to do that and land it safely. And
put a pad down. If it's something you're teaching on a hard surface, put a pad down.
Yeah.
I have one of my platforms. The way I designed it this way is specifically. Let me grab it from behind me and let everyone see.
Oh, live demo.
Exciting! I can't see. I want
So,
to see it.
If you load up the YouTube channel, you can watch him.
So
I'm moving
one of
around.
my platforms is specifically just like a mat, like a yoga mat,
Right.
and I just stacked it on top of each other, and so now I use it as a platform, but it's also a pad.
Yeah.
It depends though. How much money are you willing to put into it?
Yeah.
Cheapskate treat fairy, I do everything on a penny, but it all depends.
Yeah. There's one lady that's asking if there's videos if you're doing the parkour, Nicole, and if you can link them.
I'll tell you what though, there's videos on that, and again, I do apologise if I've got the name wrong, but the International Dog Parkour Association, they've got videos of how to train all the exercises on there. There's some really nice videos actually, really, and it all demonstrates it using positive reinforcement training, which obviously we love. And
they have a really good interactive Facebook group too.
Oh, do they? Oh, you see that?
Yeah, and you can go over there and check it out.
I did find a link for Tret, the parkour dog. He's like a sassy thing, isn't he?
He's awesome.
So I'll put that in. Actually, I'll shove it in the chat now for people, and then I'll link it at the bottom of
the things we find.
Yeah, it's. Oh, it won't let me do it.
Ah, what?
Well, fine. I'll put it in the link at the end of the chat in the description. Yeah. Sorry. Just...
How dare it?
How dare it not do as I asked?
So, what other sports games do we want to touch? Tricks.
Oh, do you class tricks as a sport? I guess, like heel work to music.
In the United States, it is now a sport for performance.
Ooh, do you do like heel work to music? Is that big in the States?
No, that's freestyle.
Okay.
But close. I mean, that's the same thing too.
One of the things that I definitely found sort of with a lot of the tricks classes that I've been to, so again, I'm really lucky where I am, that I do have a lot of amazing trainers near me. And when I get to go to a class, I snap up at the opportunity to, because for me, even though I'm obviously a dog trainer, I like to be able to go to training classes myself as well.
I'm the same.
Exactly. I just love it. And maybe that's, obviously the fact that we love dog training, it's just something that we really enjoy doing. But, it's great for building a bond with your dog and it's fantastic. But one of the things I definitely found with trick training was a lot of the tricks that were taught then had applications in all these other dog sports. I'd be teaching a dog to go round something, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, okay, well, I can use that as a wing wrap for agility. Okay. I can also use that in my parkour training, because that's one of the moves is sending them round something. I can also use it in gun dog training, because I can send them off round something, and then they can, on their way back, we can do their distance down. And you start realizing that actually there are some put inverted commas tricks, but actually they're really useful exercises, and they have a lot of like cross format. You can use them for things. Definitely,
I think a lot of clients, whenever you talk about trick training, it's something that they tend to steer away from, and it's like, well, even your obedience exercises, they're still tricks. It's the same thing. It's just we don't put as much pressure on our dogs to do tricks as we do with the obedience stuff. But you do find that the more kind of stuff that
tricks.
Yeah, but the more you do with your dog in the trick fronts, the more responsive your dog is, and the more they enjoy listening to you. And it's that whole Pavlov on your shoulder sort of classical condition thing, where the more good experiences your dog has with you, the more automatic interaction you'll have, where you end up with the dog that everyone wants, where when you're out and about, it will automatically come to you. It will automatically start to sit and off your behaviors and go, hi, are we doing stuff today? And it really improves that bond. And ultimately, regardless of the problems you're having with your dog, your bond and that trust can not fix, but it will solve and help a lot of problems with the dog and make your life a lot easier.
Absolutely.
Because your dog wants to listen to you. They want to respond to you. So if your dog's used to doing that check-in, that interacting with you, even if you've got a dog that's lead reactive and there's a dog over there, if your dog's so used to listening to you and doing scent work, you can say, yeah, there's a dog over there, but come over here and we'll go and sniff and find some cheese over there.
Definitely.
It's amazing how quickly that stuff works.
Excuse me.
One thing that I would throw in there is for anyone that thinks tricks don't matter.
Silly.
The next time you go to the vet and you look at when they go to blood draw, think, oh my goodness, that's shake hand.
Yeah, that's a paw. I did that the other day with my
You need
pizza.
these things in order to have relative fear-free lifestyle.
Yeah, and be able to take your dog to the vets, and because Deefer, my husky, has a thyroid condition, so every 6 months he has to have a blood test.
Yeah.
And of course, it's something that he doesn't like to do. He goes to the vets and he's like, oh, but we go there, we have our cheese, and he'll sit and it's give a paw, and he'll put his paw there, and he'll get his treats for it. And we're working on maintaining that for a lot longer, and to the point where I can kind of start poking him with cocktail sticks. I mean, not actually hurting him, but giving him like a pokey sort of sensation, so he gets used to this and knowing that's all that's actually going to happen.
Yeah.
And it gives the confidence.
The same thing.
Yeah, it gives them confidence. It builds them up. So it's like, okay, this is a situation I really don't like. Similar to us, when we go to have a blood test, we don't want to be there, but we know what's going to happen. We know the drill, so we're not too worried about it. If your dogs know the same thing, so even vaccinations, if you can teach a hand touch, so they can focus on your hand as people lean behind, it's a trick, but it's a very useful trick that will give.
Did you see Dr. Q's episode? Was it 2 weeks ago? So
possibly.
she actually vaccinated her puppy on
camera. Yes, I did.
By herself with nothing other than a hand touch.
Yeah.
It didn't squirm, it didn't whimper, it didn't do anything. It was, oh, this is what you want? Okay, thank you.
Well, one of the amazing things, I went to the WOOF conference last month, and some of the videos that we were being shown, I mean, it was predominantly looking at zoo animals and their
that's the stuff that I used to do.
But I was blown away by what was being done, because I'd never seen any of that. Didn't know that they were working towards some of that, and I was utterly blown away, just thinking, if we can get a hyena to push itself onto the vaccination needle without having to be put under anaesthetic, and it's doing it voluntarily, there's no stress. Why, I just sort of thought, why on earth are we not doing this with our own dogs? And it's actually I've started doing a lot more with my dogs. So we're kind of going off the topic of sports now. But if we're talking about general activities,
not really, because
training,
it's still
intermingled within tricks. And because I started off, which some people may know or may not, in Zoo World. So that was where I started my career. And the animals that I tended to work with, that we actually did the training with, were the sea lions. Because they didn't really do a lot with the other ones, but the sea lions we did. And they would have target stuff, they'd open their hands, they'd move the flipper, and they would voluntarily move stuff. And I remember at the ABMA conference in Denmark that I spoke at a few years ago, they were showing like videos similar to the ones that you saw. It's probably the same hyena video. It was like a rehabilitated rescue one, and they had like giraffes and tigers, and all of them, it's like they'd come there, they'd have the vaccination stuff and the needles ready, the animals would come down and they'd lean into the fence and they would literally vaccinate themselves. And it's not stuff that they want to do. There's a lady, Jennifer Zeligs, I think, if I pronounce her name right, who had a wonderful bond with her sea lion, and got to the point where she could get the sea lion to go on this journey to have this operation done, and it would put its head voluntarily in the anesthetic mask and anesthetize itself. So it was completely hands off. It was as low stress as possible, and you can do these things, and it's teaching them to voluntarily accept them. And if these animals know that they have some element of control, which is built up through the training, because you teach the stuff, and if the dogs move away, it's like, okay, fine, you have a break, I'm here if you want to, and they will come back. And it amazes me how much they do come back, and they're like, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, and then they do. With was it Chirac video I saw with, I think it was a Rottweiler, where it was having like a blood drawn or something, and they were doing like the bucket game thing, and the dog was like, I don't want you to do it. Okay, I can do it. I don't want to do it. Okay, and then eventually he basically just jumps into Chirac, like, just get it over with. And they have that kind of response. I think it's amazing to watch these animals when they understand what's going on, and they're like, okay, I can do it, I can't do it, okay, yeah, I can. And you see the same thought process that we have when we don't want to do something. And that's the power of the positive training and teaching them these tricks. And I think the more you do with your dogs, ideally through dog sports, be it, some low-key kind of scent work, some fun high-speed agility, tribal, whatever it is that you're doing, as long as you're doing it safely and you're being aware of your dog and you're building up that bond, you can literally teach them to do anything.
Absolutely.
Find an instructor. Don't try to do it on your own.
Yeah.
Try to work with somebody that understands the kinesiology.
Yes.
Somebody that's friendly to questions.
Yeah.
Somebody that you want to work with.
Yep.
These are important things.
Yeah. And that's where things like in the UK, we've got the Animal Behaviour and Training Council. So if you're looking for a good trainer, head there. Because the trainers that are registered there, they have to have been assessed. They have to be different level qualified. And they all have to be ethical and be very welfare-minded with the animals. So you know that these trainers aren't going to do anything underhanded with your dog. It's all going to be nice and fun and empowering for your animal. They're not going to, compromise their welfare just to get results. So definitely go and do things like that. And even with your puppies, start off small with teaching them these little things to build them up, get them used to it. And there's some handling things that in the UK, we have a really good franchise called Puppy School. Which Lauren was a member of last week. Nicole and I are both members too. And we do little handling exercises in there. So finding really good puppy classes that will start you off on this kind of pathway so you get used to it is essential.
On this journey.
On this journey with your pet. Because it is
a journey.
It's a journey, isn't it?
Hopefully you're learning something new.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're progressing.
Yeah. And
hopefully it becomes great.
Yeah. And you've got this animal for the next decade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, invest your time in it when it's young. Or when you first get it, if it's a rescue dog, take the time, invest in that. Either invest your time, invest your money with a good trainer, and you will
and know that if you get a rescue dog, no matter how old they are, you're going to have a bonding and training process that's fundamental, and
Absolutely.
you need to put that time in. So whether you get a 14-month-old, a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, take that initial time to put in that relationship and help with some of those cues and life and everything that happens.
And do what Nicole does, and to a degree what I do, is use your walk as time with your dog. Don't view it as a walk to get from A to B before you make tea and go and pick the kids up. It is half an hour, 2 hours, however long your walk is, to spend time with your dog. So interact with your dog on their walk, and you will improve, its behavior on the walk. You'll improve its recall. You'll improve your bond.
It's something you have to do already. Just make it more beneficial.
Yeah, make it fun for you. Don't walk around on your smartphone ignoring your dog and then wondering why it won't come back to you when there's a dog at the other side of the field.
Reality.
Exactly. But I think we might have to stop there because we've gone over our allotted time period.
We have.
I know, it's been too much fun.
It was lovely talking with you guys, and thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
If that is everything, I'm going to head and end it there. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you for watching.
Back
Thank you,
on
Nicole.
Animal Behavior Chats. My name is Neil Hutchins Resto, aka the Treat Fairy. Head on over and check out Positive Pet Advice. For all of you that aren't members yet, go ahead and put in a request. We have so many different events like this planned and discussions for you all. Yep. Thank you so much, Nicole Harris, for coming out today. And this has been Animal Behavior Chats with Danielle Beck. Hashtag
Geeky Dog Trainer.
Trainer.
Next week we have the wonderful Elaine Henley finally joining us. And we're going to delve into puppy and animal development. So this is the kind of stuff that we want, because this is the time of year people tend to go out and get puppies. So we're going to discuss how to locate the good breeders, and we're going to focus more on the early experiences of the dog. Lauren, we kind of focus on when you got your puppies, this is what should be happening before to make sure that you get the right puppy to begin with. So that'll be a really fun and very geeky chat because it'll be science.
Yay!
We like science. But thank you for joining us, everyone. Thank you for joining in the chat. And I wish you well, and we will see you all next week.
Treat Fairy out.